Have you ever wondered if you can reuse old masking film in a new piece of artwork? Now, I don't actually know, so I thought I would try it out. And whilst I'm here, I've got loads of ideas for gel printing with paper masks to make some cards with a difference. Now, in last week's video, I showed you how to use double-sided gel printing to make some unique 2 pieces of art for the price of 1 greeting cards. You know, it's just something a little different that you can add a fun surprise when someone opens up that card. I mean, they're not expecting the colour to be on the inside as well, are they? And to do this, I've been using a low-tack adhesive film to mask off just a little bit of area that I can sort of do my writing in for the greeting itself. And that worked really, really well. But I like to get the most out of my products, and I did keep some of the film masks from the very first time that I've used this film to see if I could reuse that same piece again. And today that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if we can do this. So the masking film that I'm using is the L500 masking film from ShinHan Art, and you know, I'm not sponsored by them or anything of the sort. There's plenty of other masking films out there as well, and I've got some of them listed along with this one in the description below. Stick around to the end of the video as well, because I've got some storage suggestions for your used film masks. Now, just like last week, because I did this card in that same printing session, so I'm going to use those paper cut masks again as well to build up some layers and some contrast and just add a lot of interest to this cardstock. I mean, it's a really simple way of doing it, and you can get some really great looks out of it and different styles. So I'm just going to stick with that technique, but share some different ways of using it for you. So as we get stuck into building up the printed layers, I'm still keeping the painted layers thin. And as I'm actually working on 3 cards in one session, you'll see that the paint residue from previous prints kind of build up on the plate. And I want this to happen, so I'm not going to be cleaning off the plate as I go. Well, not just yet anyway. Now, those little bits of leftover paint layers can add some really interesting textures. So sometimes it's just worth ploughing on in and not worrying about them, even if you're changing up colours. So I've been building up the layers with this one by either adding a thin layer of paint over the paper mask on the plate and then removing that mask and taking my print, or alternatively have a go at this. So you put your paint layer down, then add the mask into the paint layer, and a brayer really helps for this, and then lift that mask off and then take your print, and you can get a very subtle texture from using your mask in this way. It lifts off some of that paint, so you kind of get a shadow shape going on. But now I think I want to add an area of strong contrast to this. So I'm going to take a colour that is close, but not the same as the dominant colours that are already down. So we've got a lot of yellow here. So I think I'll pick a Naples yellow red, which has a kind of pastel orange look to it. And I'm putting it down reasonably thinly, as I want it to only partially cover the texture that's already there on the cardstock. And as it's an opaque, you know, I do run the risk if I put too much down that it will just completely cover that texture. So that's kind of like a happy middle ground. And hopefully this is going to start bringing this side together. Okay, so part 2 to add in this contrast, I'm now going to carry on with the blue, and this time with a thicker layer in the same section on the print, and I'm using the paper mask again to make an easy matrix kind of pattern. And when I take this print, most of the orange layer is covered except for the areas where the paper mask was, and it adds a really nice texture, doesn't it? So I've been pulling other prints for the other cards here, and oh look, there's a sneak peek of next week's cards, so come back to see if I manage to make anything out of that mess. But for this week's card, I'm going to pick up some more of that leftover texture from the plate, because it's getting kind of interesting now, and a light layer of a light colour will do this, and you can get a really lovely distressed look from this leftover paint. But I have got some areas that I've missed that I want to pick up some more colour, but maybe the paint had already dried on the plate, so it didn't come up in this particular print. So if I add a touch more colour to just those missed areas, then I can pick up some more of that texture. And I'm using the card itself alongside the gel to just help guide where I need to put this new layer of paint down. And now I think it might be time to actually clean the plate and get some cleaner prints. And I'm going to bring this card together with a blue section on this side, just like the blue section that we have on the other side, on the inside. And that's one way to make it one cohesive card, so that the inside and the outside look like they're meant to be together. Just some final touches with some leftover teal from next week's card, another spoiler there, and the printing is done. The second-hand film mask is still in place and we've had no problems with it so far, but before we see if it's done the job, I want to finish this card with some detailing. And is it me, or can you see that face as well? In fact, I can actually see two faces. And my heart is saying that I have to do something with those faces, but my inner critic is saying, yeah, well, you're just going to be making it look stupid and mess it up. But, you know, there's no point playing safe. I want to see what will happen and if I can pull those faces out and make them work. So I'm going to use some Inktense pencils to do the job, and let's see what happens. Now you might be wondering how I've stored my old film masks, and you might have spotted me at the beginning of the video peeling off the old masks from the tube of film that they originally had come from. I know, it shouldn't really work, but you know, I just put them there for want of somewhere else to put them. And it kind of works if you've got some small masks, but you do run the risk of them getting dirty. So I think a better place and a better way to store them would be to stick them on a piece of plastic sheeting. So maybe a plastic paper folder. You know those plastic stationery folders that you can put a piece of paper into? Something like that would probably do it a treat. And then you could even store them in a folder if you were like that organised. I'm not that organised, so that's how they ended up on the roll. But I will definitely try the plastic folder method and see how that goes, and I'll let you know. But it's only worth saving these used pieces of masking film if they are actually reusable. So how did it fare? Pretty good. So it seems that you can reuse them. So have a go with yours and all the different printing techniques that I've shared today and in last week's video too, and let me know how you get on with it. And next week I have an entirely different method of masking to share with you, one where you don't need any of these types of masking films. So I will see you back then, and in the meantime watch these videos next if you want some more ideas on how to get good use out of your art stash, and I'll see you there.